This is Peter Krautle, and I am a member of the Technology Committee at the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to this short podcast on the benefits of cloud versus on-site versus hybrid computing, with an emphasis on voice applications for small and medium business. A brief personal introduction. I am managing partner for Louisa Voice, an open source solutions provider for businesses. Louisa Voice also does professional services for voice and core IT infrastructure solutions. I am sometimes asked, where does the name Louisa Voice come from? Our family cottage was located on Lake Louisa in Quebec, north of Montreal, and the company was formed out of discussions my sons and myself had about open source telephony. Louisa Voice is also a proud sponsor of the Bergen Volunteer Medical Initiative, or BVMI. BVMI is a group of doctors, volunteer doctors, nurses, and medical specialists who provide free health care to working people in Bergen County who otherwise cannot afford health insurance. Coming from Canada, where health care is provided to everyone regardless of income, Louisa Voice recognizes the important role that BVMI plays in our community. You'll see the BVMI people regularly in our monthly networking events. Say hello to them and find out more of their good work providing health care to the uninsured out of their new Hackensack office. Let's get to the heart of the presentation, which is a summary of a Tech Talk article published in September 2016 edition of the Meadowlands USA Chamber magazine. You may have heard the terms such as on-site, cloud, and hybrid computing and models. Let's unpack what these terms really mean. In this slide, a high-level overview of on-site, cloud, and hybrid computing models is provided. On-site computing is simply one computer, one license. For example, a new laptop computer is purchased for the office. Microsoft Windows and Office must be licensed on the laptop to use applications such as PowerPoint, Excel, or Word. If the user wanted to leave the laptop at the office and do work from their home computer, then separate copies of Windows and Office would need to be licensed. Cloud-based computing takes the opposite approach. All applications reside in the network and are typically accessible via a web browser. Banking, customer relationship management systems, and Google Docs are good examples of cloud-based computing. Hybrid computing provides a mixture of on-site and cloud-based services with orchestration between the two models. A good example to illustrate this model is Microsoft Office 365, which can be licensed for a monthly fee of $10 per month or $120 annually. The user can run Office applications in the network or install applications on up to 5 computers or mobile appliances. Also included in this subscription fee is 1 terabyte of online storage. There are trade-offs to using each computing model, including economics, access to new capabilities, upgrades, and scalability. For example, if a user never uses the latest Office features, then an on-site model where Office is upgraded every 5 to 7 years is the most cost-effective alternative. If the user needs access to the latest copies of Office, then a subscription-based service model makes more sense to them. The same principles apply to voice. Carrier and hosted voice deployment are hybrid solutions as the business purchases and configures the phones. When a business buys internet access from a carrier such as Optimum or Verizon, they also have the option of buying voice at a cost of $30 to $35 per month per phone user. The business can also buy their internet service from the carrier and buy voice over the internet from a host-based provider such as Vonage or RingCentral. Again, the monthly cost per phone user is $30 to $35 per month. Of course, businesses can still continue to deploy standalone PBX or open source telephony solutions, which allows the business to add more phones independently from the number of lines purchased from the carrier, reducing their monthly telephone charges. The business can have 10 phones, but if only 3 concurrent external calls are required at any given time to the public voice network, they only need to buy 3 lines from the voice provider. So let's unpack all these concepts that we've just reviewed with a case study for a small business office. It's a new build where the business required 6 phones to be installed. And the top line represents a hosted voice solution from Vonage or Ring Central, and the bottom represents the open source telephony solution. So let's look at each of the line items and understand them in a little more detail. The first line item is the hosted voice lines, and this is your monthly charge. And in this case, I used a Vonage deployment with including all taxes. It's about $34 per month, and so you take $34 per month times 6 phones times 12 months, you come up to $2,448. Your Polycom phones are at $104 each. It's $624. You only need to buy those once. Your uninterruptible power supply battery is $160. Your Ethernet switch is $155, and your online fax service, we recommend to customers that still have fax requirements to use an online fax subscription and get your faxes emailed to you, or you send out your faxes via email. And fax is one of these applications that just does not work very well when you're using voice over the internet. And so your first year costs are $3,447 in this particular model, and then your ongoing cost for years 2 to 5 is about $2,508 per year. And so when you add up all the 5 years to support this small business office with 6 phones and a hosted model, you're going to spend about $13,479. Now, in the on-site telephony solution at the bottom, your first line item is Ace Innovative Voice, and they're a carrier that where you buy your voice traffic by the minute, and so I tend to use this type of carrier for small and medium businesses that don't have volume of outgoing and incoming calls. And so in this particular case, I costed out your monthly connections to the internet, where there's 3,000 minutes coming into the business, 3,000 minutes coming in and 2,000 minutes going out. And all that told for 10 concurrent connections, that's $793. And when you compare that to the $2,448, that's where the majority of your savings are going to come from. Is when you add that when you aggregate that over 5 years. You still have your online fax subscription, and your open source voice solution is $2,324, and that includes the cost of the equipment plus the cost of the professional services to install and configure the solution. So when you look at your first year cost between the two options, your first year costs are really not that different between the two models. Where your savings really kick in are in years 2 to 5, where you're with a hosted voice solution, you're spending $2,508 and versus $853 for your open source telephony solution, and that's because you're not paying the $30 to $35 per user per month charge. And so your 5-year cost for an open source solution is about $7,587, or about half of the $13,479 that you're spending for your hosted voice solution. This is an example of what a reference architecture would be for an on-site open source voice solution, and you have your and this includes an open source firewall and voice server bundled into one box. Includes your Ethernet switch, includes your power supply to support both the Ethernet switch and the voice server. It includes a wireless access point, and it includes your phones at the top. These phones have a little switch in them, so you can daisy chain computers off of the phones by just connecting your Ethernet cable from your laptop or your desktop computer right into the phone. So, as I stated in the beginning, on-site, cloud, and hybrid models all have their own strengths, and you need to select one model based on the following criteria. The first one is your business requirements for access to the latest features. If you need access to the latest capabilities as they come out, then you're probably makes more sense to avoid a standalone solution and go with a subscription-based model, or for computing, or a hosted voice model for voice. Your technical skill set, that's either in-house or contracted. You do need access to technical resources. If you go back to the previous slide, or where we compared the economics, I bundled in 2 hours of professional services each year into the open source telephony solution, and you need access to technical resources to deploy on-site solutions. Cost is always a factor. Your solution complexity is always a factor. Your ability to operate independently is a variable. Contingency and recovery. If you're using voice over the internet, what happens when the internet goes down, and what's your backup plan? Can your business still survive when you don't have voice for 30 minutes or an hour until the internet comes back up? Support from manufacturers and integrators. If you're buying used voice equipment, expect it to break, and you need to find someone to be able to repair it. And then the last piece is compatibility with other systems. We're working with a tax provider in Hoboken, and they want to have their voice solution integrated with their customer relationship management solution, so that when an incoming call comes in, the customer record comes up on their screen, and when they place an outgoing call from their CRM screen, they just do click to dial, and the call then rings a phone, and then the call gets placed. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast that covers the differences between on-site versus cloud-based versus hybrid computing, and its applicability to voice.